Yeah. Yeah. So someone who's already in the sin and someone who's not in the sin, how to keep away from it, inshallah. Well, first of all, as we know clearly from the ayat of the Quran, the lahw al hadith, that's mentioned in the ayat of the Quran, the companions clearly understood that to be a reference to music and musical instruments. So there's no disagreement between the scholars that these affairs are completely they're haram, they're unlawful, and they constitute a sin. Now, Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala does not prohibit anything or make it unlawful except because it is overwhelmingly, it is either pure evil and pure harm, pure detriment, or it is overwhelmingly harmful, right? And harmful to a person. So, with respect to music, then a person who is put to trial with music, then I can give maybe some quick pointers to make that person maybe reflect and think um, about what they are listening to and the effect that it's having upon them and upon their beliefs and upon their thoughts, upon their feelings. So music is the and singing and music is the Quran of Iblis. Right? This is how the scholars have explained what it is. It is the recital of Iblis, whereas the Quran is the recital of the believers. And Iblis uses music as one of the means to reach in a subconscious, surreptitious, like hidden, subtle manner to reach the hearts and the minds and the souls of people, to beautify things to them and to make things alluring and to, you know, um, it's something that doesn't need. See, there's different types of harms that can come to you. One type of harm is like the intellectual and rational, right? Somebody comes to you and starts to speak to you about, it could be, let's say it's evolution, atheism, philosophy, it's something, and he's intellectually trying to entice you into something, right? That's one way. That's like shubuhat, for example. But then the music is like from the shahawat, is from the pleasures and the feelings where the rational mind isn't really involved. But it can be used to bypass the rational mind and to put feelings in you, to put ideas into you, to put, to entice you and draw you to um, shameful behavior and other unlawful deeds. And that's why music, just like alcohol, is an avenue to other things, right? It's an avenue to other things. It's an avenue to shamelessness. It's an avenue to fornication. It's an avenue to being stripped of morals. It's an avenue of, um, having your time, wasted, and having your mind wasted, having your heart poisoned. So there are so many evils that result from music. It's a step towards other evils as well. So I think when a person understands that music is actually a weapon, it's a weapon of the people of disbelief, and historically speaking, it always has been, right? So if you go back in history and you look at the nations of disbelief, what they do is they use um, things like women, singers, theaters, plays. Like if you go back to the Romans and you go before them and you go before them, it's a way of diverting the people's attention away from the fact that in other areas of their lives they are being looted and robbed and misguided and given false hopes and false beliefs, and it's just to keep them occupied, right? So What, like, for example, today you see some of the biggest industries. What are the biggest industries? It's the music industry, it's the entertainment industry, it's the sports industry. And the people who really uh, run these industries, like, there's an actual clip of one of these people, one of these Yahud, right, saying, for example, why is it that, why, like, someone raises the question, why do we never see you Yahud? Why don't we see you, like, excelling in sports? We never see Yahudi, like, in sports. We don't see this prominent sports people never seem to be Yahud, right? So this guy, he's saying, well, to be honest with you, the reason why we're not involved in sports, like, practically speaking, you never see us at the top and excelling, is because sports is simply a tool that we use to keep you guys preoccupied and to keep you oblivious to other things, right? So this is straight, directly from the mouths of these people who are telling you that it's used as a weapon against you, backward, illiterate nations, in that while we loot you and we loot your wealth and we strip your morals and we do everything else, we're just keeping your attention somewhere else by giving you singers, actors, sportsmen, this, that, whatever, to keep you completely oblivious to the fact that, you know, and this is actually absolutely true. Like, if you look at now what's happening in all these nations, you can see that the people are slowly cottoning on to the fact that they have been looted and their nations are trillions in debt. Where's this trillions, like, come from, and where's it gone to? It's looted from the taxpayers. And but but so, in the meanwhile, you've just been into your football and your music and your entertainment and whatever, and that literally is how, historically, as in the modern era, what the heads of disbelief used to do, right? They would keep the people occupied in frivolities, and they wouldn't allow them to, come anywhere near that which will give them felicity in this life and the next. Just tawheed, just ibadah, just worshipping Allah for true serenity, for true happiness, right? Um, worshipping Allah, and striving, wala tansa nasibaka min ad-dunya, like, don't forget your portion of this world. Work hard for your portion of this world. You haven't got time to be listening to these evil people, and their nonsense there that they speak about. You haven't got time for that. You've got more important things to pursue, a livelihood, and to raise your children with good morals, with good manners, right? So the point being, I guess my first point, really, in a general sense, is that for people who are put to trial with music, you need to understand what the purpose of music and the industry and of singers and all these celebrities, how they are actually used, not just today but throughout history. This is how they've always been used, right? These are just people who are put there in order to help shape your opinions, your views, your morals, because it's one of the most effective means of misguiding people through entertainment, right? So I guess it's not just music, it's movies and it's other things, and sports enters into the same thing as well, right? Just sat there watching people kicking a ball or hitting a ball or whatever. Like, what's the benefit in you doing that? It's just a means of creating partisanship and false loyalties, and so I guess this discussion doesn't apply just to music. It applies to these other fields as well. These fields have a specific role to play, not just in modern society, but in previous societies as well, which is to divert you away from the remembrance of Allah, and to divert you away from the fact that you are being looted, you are being stolen from, your nation is being looted, your nation is being robbed, you're being, to keep you preoccupied while that's happening by stealth behind the scenes until it's too late, until you become totally enslaved, right? So that's the first thing. My first point is understand that music is a weapon being used against you. All right. Secondly, these people that they put forward as the musicians and the singers and whatever, they are the most despicable, lowly, filthy, vile types of people who sell their souls for a paltry price. Right? They're the most despicable and evil of people. How can you listen to these people, like, these singers? Now, what's really happening is that this is how it's happening. There's Iblis. There's Iblis. Then there is the allies of Iblis. The allies of Iblis. The allies of Iblis are those who basically uh, promote, like, in terms of, like, the ones who own the industry, right? And they spread this amongst mankind, and they know what they're doing, right? So they look for talented people who are singers, who are rappers, or whatever it might be, right? And then what they see is, well, this singer, this rapper, we can make probably about a few billion from this individual. And we'll let this person have some scraps. We'll let them make maybe, 30, 40 million or something, or 50 million, right? And then what they do is they use these talented people, and then they dictate to them what types of things they need to speak about, and how to dress, how to appear, and then they use them to brainwash and indoctrinate children, right, who are at the most impressionable, right? So they set them up as almost like models to be imitated, right? Yet these are the most despicable. Like, these people sell their souls for a paltry price because they after fame, they after money, right? And so this is why in these kind of industries, it is the most corruptible, the most sick people, the ones who are after fame, the ones who are after fortune, the ones who are willing to sell themselves, right, to become rich and famous. And they will receive the crumbs, right? What is crumbs? Crumbs is like, okay, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. These are just crumbs to the people who are sat there making the billions, right? And then they will use these individuals as a means of in social indoctrination of the society, of the children, of the girls, and they will impart certain morals and values. And this is how they legitimize and they push certain things into society and make it acceptable. You see in these Western societies, they do it through the singers, they do it through the rappers, they do it through, promote al-liwat and all these other evils within the society. Even they will, even in the field, to the extent that you see, even in the field of like medicine, they will push medical things through these singers more so than the doctors, right? They will push other things through politicians, elections. They will use the singers. Why? Because most people are listening to these evil people and are mesmerized by these people, right? Uh, you know. So my second point then, I guess, is that think about who you are listening to, right? Especially in the modern era, not like maybe 30, 40 years ago. There might have been individuals who had a political message, or who had a moral message, or had maybe that might have existed 30, 40 years ago, like among the rappers, particularly. But then, these people overtook these industries on purpose to corrupt, to specifically corrupt, like in America, it's like the black population, to put a message of drugs and violence and women and whatever. It was done deliberately, right, to corrupt that segment of so not just the black, but everybody else as well. So it's a powerful tool. So like I said to you, there is Iblis, then there are those allies of Iblis, those shayateen from mankind, who use these things, right, to deliberately misguide mankind and to divert their attention. And then they find these despicable low-life scumbags at the bottom, who have a taste for money, wealth, fame, fortune, will sell themselves for a paltry price. And they have to be willing to do lots of evil things as well to get the fame as well. And then so they use these people, give them a few tens of millions, whereas they make the billions. and then they'll work them to death, and then they'll just find some other new talent and go through the whole process again. It's the whole process, right? So they have bands like boy bands, female bands, rappers, this, whatever. It's a racket that continues round and round and round, ongoing, because it's so powerful in misguiding people and infusing them with desires and diverting their attention from the fact that they are being otherwise looted and having their morals destroyed, right? So the second point is that just think about these people that you are like, these are despicable, lowly people, right? And behind them are the slave masters, right? Don't think these people somehow are like, some like they're cool and trendy. They're not. They're just slaves. They're slaves. Behind them, there are slave masters. They step out of line, they'll get slapped. They'll get disciplined. Right? They're just low life nobodies that you're listening to. Right? And what you're seeing is just the glitter of it all. It's, you know. So understand that you're being deceived, and you know that have some self dignity, have some honor, right? Don't take these despicable, low life people uh, to be somehow as if they're models in your life where you're listening to them, right? Don't have some respect and have some dignity for yourself. That you're not taking these people. These people have any part in your life, because that's a denigration of yourself, right? Like, you are literally, who are you then in that case? You're listening to something making you enslaved to some low life, despicable person who sold himself or herself for a paltry price, a slave to the slave masters higher than him, who are making billions, who themselves are allies to Iblis, right? These are allies to Iblis. All those in the music industry at the top, they, if you understand how the music industry works at the top, uh, they're all run by the Yahud at the top. They own all the labels, and what they do is that the people who are the producers, they are well versed in magic, in sihr, in the symbology of sihr and magic. And when they write the lyrics and when they do the actual music, it's all there's like sihr embedded, like in terms of the message and the way it's constructed, right? um uh there are so many evils you are opening yourself into by just even listening to this stuff. You don't understand the extent of corruption and deviation that comes through this avenue, right? So my second point really is, have some self dignity and honor. Do you really want to be listening and be a slave to a despicable slave, to a slave masters who are the allies of Iblis? Like, where, put yourself, where are you in the chain? Do you want to be there? Do you want to be there? Or do you want to be someone honorable, dignified, and listen to that which is pure, wholesome, good, guides to that which is lillati hiya aqwam, that guides to that which is most upright, right? Which is the Quran. Where do you want to be in the scheme of things, right? So, cut that off, end it. The third thing is that no matter whatever it is that you are seeking out of listening to music, like, are you, you are never going to achieve it. So, are you listening to music like some people listen to rap because it makes you feel, it makes you like feel as if you're cool and you're a gangster, or whatever it is? Or are you listening to music because of the emotion and the pleasure that you feel from the, from the voice, or from the lyrics, or I absolutely guarantee you, whatever it is you are seeking from that, you will never attain it. You will never ever attain it, because as Allah says, "Ala bi dhikrillah tatma'innul qulub." Indeed, it is with the remembrance of Allah that the hearts achieve tranquility. Right? True tranquility, ease of heart, peace, serenity, right? At ease with yourself. This will only come from the Quran and from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything else you can listen to it to 1,000 times, and it's because it's built upon batil, and because the way the way it's playing with your emotions and whatever, it's never ever going to give you actual true satisfaction. And it's all false hope, it's all false dreams, it's all, and like the lyrics that are being said are either nonsense or exaggeration, or they comprise kufr or statements of shirk or whatever it might be. It's never going to give you actual true satisfaction. um and you could be listening to that for years and years and years, and your life would be a misery. It's not going to solve. You will not find that satisfaction and serenity and calm and peace ever in music, in the instrument of Iblis. It is impossible. It's literally impossible. And a lot of people turn to, the reason why they turn to music is because of these reasons. They're looking for something, right? But you'll not find it. You will only find it in the Quran, and you will only find meaning to your life. And as I said, serenity, peace, itminan, serenity in the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that would be a third point, um, you know, to keep away and to get yourself out of that, and get yourself out of that, and to listen to the Quran, and instead listen, instead of lyrics, listen to the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they contain truth and wisdom and guidance, and they will direct you to what will benefit you in this life, as opposed to you wasting your time in frivolity and corruption and whatever else it might be. That's the third thing. I mean, we could say many other things. I'll stick with those three for now, inshallah, to keep it short. Um, that's for a person who's put to trial. Because it's haram, you have to immediately give it up. Right? This is haram. So a Muslim, you have to just give it up. There are many, many Muslims who used to be non-Muslims, used to work in that industry. They know exactly how it works, like along the lines I described to you. They were offered money or whatever, and they gave that up for the sake of Allah, and they abandoned it. They abandoned the career in whatever. So there are people who abandon these affairs for the sake of Allah. They could have had millions, but they didn't. Right? So you as a Muslim, it shouldn't be difficult for you to give up the haram just like that, because there's no, like in the example of those people, and we know people like that, people who became Muslim, became Salafi, they were in the music industry. They could have made millions, but when they realized the evil that it contains and they were exposed to Islam, they abandoned that, and they abandoned what would have been, a career of riches, right? So if that can be done by people who make sacrifice for the sake of Allah, willing to give up these evils for the sake of Allah, then what about you as just an average Muslim who's listening to this nonsense? You don't have millions to lose. You don't have to, if you give it up, right? There's nothing in it for you. You just stop it, and have some dignity and honor, and find honor in something else, in the dhikr of Allah, in the hadith of the Messenger of Allah, in the statements of the Sahaba, in which there is truth and wisdom and guidance, and that will direct you to good in this life and the hereafter. Right? Don't be like I said, you're at the end of the chain, right? Becoming a slave to another despicable slave, to slave masters who are the allies of Iblis. Like, don't be in which chain do you want to be in, right? So that is the Quran of Iblis, and this, what the Messenger brought is the Quran, is the recital. It's the recital of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So choose where you want to be. All right. So I think that's what I can say in brief. As for those people who are not put to trial, then obviously you keep away from it. You keep away from all the means of evil, everything which is haram. You keep away. You keep your children away from it. Yeah, you avoid it, inshallah. We'll stop there, inshallah. Wallahu a'lam. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.